I'm Angela Marvel, and this is your editing video for this week's photo titled Memories. Pretty straightforward photo, so there's not a whole lot of heavy lifting on this one as far as the editing goes, but I thought I'd still show you some of the techniques I used in case maybe you haven't done a ghost photo before. But if you have done a ghost photo before, it's very straightforward. So I started out in the hallway at our hotel room. I actually did not bring my tripod, so the camera is sitting on my suitcase, which is a great tip because maybe you can't always bring your tripod, or you forgot it at home, or you don't even own one. That's not the only way you can keep your camera steady. Anything can be used as a tripod. I have used everything from a garbage can to a wall. I've tried to use a tree before while hanging it. That doesn't work quite as well. But this time I used the suitcase. It was about 2 feet off the ground. I wanted it to be on the lower side so that when I eventually took the photos of us sitting on the ground, the camera would be more at our level rather than looking down at us. So I always start with a base image. I make sure that I have a clean photo before we add any people. You absolutely need this to do a ghost photo. You need something that has no people in it. Otherwise, you can't create the ghosts. Then I took several shots of my son and I playing patty cake. I wanted us to be fun and, have smiles on our faces and look like we're having a good time. And then another thing I did, and you'll notice this in my base photo, I edited out all that distracting stuff on the ceiling and the exit sign because I did not want that in my final image. So just in case you noticed that, I thought I'd mention it. And then it's really simple. I take these two images into Photoshop. I put the people one on top of the blank, and I lower the opacity to my liking. Some people would lower it more. On this particular photo, I did not want us to be non-existent ghosts. I kind of wanted us to still be in the frame. I really wanted you to be able to see us and to see our facial expressions. However, if you look closely, we are still fairly see-through. You can see the baseboards, the hallway, everything is directly behind us. If I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure this was about 50%. It was kind of just a medium opacity on that sense. Now from here, I did not edit the photo any further. That's something that I do. When I know 100% for a fact a photo is going to be in black and white, I don't overly edit it because I want to wait until I get my black and white image to really perfect my lighting conditions and the mood of the photo. So at this point, the white balance was good enough. The tones were all even. That's all I cared about, is that everything was just kind of even keeled for the hallway. So I took it into Lightroom and I converted it to black and white. I do my black and whites in Lightroom. I have created my own presets. I have about 8 to 10 of them that are for various lighting situations. And it makes it really simple to just hover over in Lightroom and be able to pick the black and white that works the best for the situation. I've spent a lot of time making those, and so they're unique to my photos. I'm not even sure they would work on anybody else's photos, but they've worked really well for me. I got a base black and white image. I did not desaturate it. It does have contrast and all of that stuff added into it, but it was a basic black and white photo. Punched it back over into Photoshop, this is where I edited the photo. Oh, I did not. Sorry, I cropped it first. I forgot. I tend to crop the photo. I cropped it before I did the editing in this one because I needed to see where the direction of light was coming. And again, 100% for a fact, knew I was going to be using a square. And so as I was saying, now I edited the photo. I wanted it to have a moody feel to it. I wanted it to have a feeling of that we're in this dark hallway, and I took this lamp, that light that's up here, I made that as because it was the largest light in the frame, I decided to make that the main light source, as if the light was feathering off of that light. I darkened other areas, I did a vignette, I burned, dodged levels and curves is how I eventually got this edit. And quite frankly, this could be the end of the photo. And I would have been happy with it. It served its purpose. It is doing what I wanted. My vision for this photo from the moment I came up with this idea was to have it be more of a memory, dreamlike. So I wanted it to be almost like we were peeking in to a memory from the past, which incidentally is what I ended up creating, because I ended up having fun outside in this hallway with my son playing patty cake. But that's what I wanted. I wanted it to be like, what if you could capture those fun memories in a memory feel? So that is why I eventually went and did the warp and the Book of Lights to make it look a little bit more dream, fantasy, surreal, rather than just the straight edit, which is great. It's just, to me, it's a little bit more harsher. Like when I do my actual ghost photos, where I'm taking a photo that is meant to be, here is a ghost that is stuck in the hallway, what are they doing? And I like that, and it works for all my other photos. But for this one, I really wanted it to have this feeling of whimsical, dreamlike, as if we were peeking in on a memory. So I wanted it to be a little lighthearted than the harsher edit of this. I chose the warp and made the walls go up a little bit more because I wanted it to be like we were looking at this through one of those big glass mirrors that sometimes they put into the corner of a hallway at either a restaurant or a hotel. You know, those kind of make it look fisheye looking. And so that was my idea. And as soon as I played around with it and came up with that's how I wanted this to look, where it arches just more than it did here. See, that's all that, I just wanted it to arch a little. Then I knew I was sold, and I already knew I was going to do the lights at a really low. So how I got this, that's another actually good question, is how I got these lights. I took a picture of black background, Christmas lights, really open f-stop. Got them nice and twinkling, really pretty. And then I pull it over my finished product. So I actually, at this point, I usually, before I add that, I flatten the image and I save it. So on my hard drive, I have this image saved as Final 1. This is actually saved as Final 2, and then this is saved as Final 3. And I do that because I want them all, and I have the PSD files as well. I'm with all the layers, but I actually like a JPEG. Like that way I know at what point I finished. Like there's a major stop. This is a major stop. This could have been the photo by itself. And then I took this photo, and then I took the picture of the lights, and I put it on top of it. I did it at a screen, and then about 15 to 20 opacity. So it's really subtle with these lights. I did not want it to be anything that was overly complicated or overly, not complicated, overly distracting from the photo itself. I just wanted it to be whimsical and lighthearted. And so this is actually a good photo too. I get asked a lot how long it takes me to take these self-portraits. And so on this one in particular, I thought I could discuss that. This one took me about 10 minutes to shoot at most. It probably could have taken only about 5 minutes to shoot. However, there were people walking in and out of the halls at various times. And so we had to stop what we were doing. Luckily, everybody walked around the camera, and I didn't have to reset that part up. But really straightforward. I had a really good base image. I had a really good ghost photo. I overlaid that, lowered the opacity, went on my way. I would say this photo took about 30 minutes to edit. Maybe 20 minutes between the cleaning up the base image, making sure everything lined up, selecting which photo I really wanted to use. That probably took the most amount of time. That probably took an additional 10 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes. But Most of the photo work came at the end, after I already had this image, or even this image, where just kind of coming up with the creative part of what I wanted it to look like for the final product. And I ended up editing it in a way that works for me. I could see this, it works for me now. This is the vision I have for today. Reason I keep this image and this as a JPEG is because 6 months down the road, I might want to come back to it, and when I go to get it printed, I might change my mind. But I want all versions so that I can also see that really quickly when I pull up my photos. But I would say that this photo took about an hour, start to finish. Really quick and easy. Not all my photos are like that. This one in particular was. And I think that it came out pretty good, and it came out exactly how I wanted it to. So the other question I get asked a lot on my photos is, how did I come up with that idea? This one was very spur of the moment. So this was taken the same day that I came up with the idea. It doesn't always happen. Originally, I wanted all 4 of my family. I wanted the 4 of us as ghosts. That one will eventually happen this year. But I didn't have a concrete idea of what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted the 4 of us having fun, and my husband and my oldest son are the kind of people who you have to have the idea down to a T for them to cooperate. Now they'll cooperate because they're great and they work with me, but they don't want to just have it be where I'm winging it on the spot. It's got to be where I'm, excuse me, I have to have the idea solid. And on this particular one, I did not have the idea solid. This idea came out of that idea of 4 of us. I wanted the 4 of us having fun, having a good time, but I did not want to take my whole entire family out into the hallway and then not be able to pull something off. So what kind of came of that was my original idea for the 4 of us was something to do kind of with patty cake or some sort of childhood game in the hall. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute. It doesn't have to be all 4 of us. I could do this with Alex, and he cooperates pretty good with me. And I knew, and him and I actually play patty cake. That's what we used to do a lot. And so it made sense for me to do that with him. And I think it ended up working out just as well as if I had tried to do the 4 of us in one photo. And eventually I will, because I'm going to come up with that ghost photo. I want a ghost photo that incorporates all of us, or me and Brett, or even me and Chris. I'm going to do some more throughout this year. I'm just going to, at that time, I didn't have the full idea and or costumes with me to pull off any of the ideas that I had already thought of. Because again, you have to have the costumes, and you have to have wardrobe. You have to have props. You have to be ready to go when you want to shoot. The worst thing, I think, is when I go out to a shoot and I try to wing it. It doesn't, I mean, I'm creative and I'll make changes on the spot, but I am not at the greatest at the improv part of it. I'm much better if I have a plan that I've sat on my couch, I've thought of every angle, and then I go out and I just execute it. And so I hope you enjoyed all the tidbits about this photo and how I did it, and I hope you all have a great week. Thanks. Bye.